Hey there, we're Talia and Ophira Edut, identical twins and astrologers. Welcome to AstroTwins Radio, where we bring the stars down to Earth. Hello, Astro-style friends. It's Talia from the AstroTwins here with a special episode with your 2025 highlights. I'm reading an excerpt from our 2025 horoscope book. Thank you to everyone who already has their copy. As many of you know, every single year we write a 600 plus page book detailing extensive forecasts for each of the 12 zodiac signs and hot spots, moon calendars, important dates for all 12 months of the year. We have our big giant book that people love to keep on their coffee table that has all 12 signs in it. And then for people who like to plan it by the planets, we have our zodiac planners. So I'm reading the general excerpts today in this episode. We also have another episode with the theme of the year of the divine pendulum, and one about breakdown of all 12 signs in the year ahead. So this one is big overview of the 2025 highlights. And if after you listen and you don't have the book yet, and you're like, I need to know more for myself, use the code HOLIDAY10, holiday10, the number 10, and get 10% off of any of the books at checkout, whether you get the big book for yourself or your zodiac signs planner or your rising signs planner. We have all sorts of fun little ways to bundle them up. All right, let's get into it. 2025 highlights. The fateful lunar nodes switch into Pisces, North Node, and Virgo, South Node on January 11th. The ethereal meets the material this January 11th as the destiny-directing lunar nodes launch a new 18-month journey through dreamy Pisces and practical Virgo. This spiritual cycle, which last took place from June 23rd, 2006 to December 18th, 2007, puts a focus on healing in every way, from our energetic and emotional bodies to our physical ones. Artificial boundaries dissolve under the North Node in Pisces spell, inviting us to discover new dimensions of the human experience. Meanwhile, the South Node in Virgo challenges us to live in greater attunement with Mother Earth. Goodbye micromanagement, hello mindfulness. It's time to embrace a holistic, heart-centered way of living. This pull toward a spiritual, compassionate, and intuitive path will feel like a relief after the warmongering, ideologically divided Aries-Libra nodal cycle that began on July 17, 2023, and finally wraps on January 11th, 2025. Take stock of the relationship shifts and progress on personal initiatives that you've made since then. For betting, you've grown mightily. Motivator Mars kicks off 2025 in retrograde. Don't rush those resolutions. Go-getter Mars begins 2025 in full retrograde mode, continuing a reverse commute that began on December 6th, 2024 in passionate, regal Leo. The feisty red planet remains in reverse until February 23rd, 2025, backing into domestic Cancer on January 6th. While Mars in Leo typically fires us up for bold moves and dramatic action, the retrograde cools that energy, asking us to hold back on launching any major initiatives. Instead of pushing for the spotlight, begin the year by reflecting on your personal power and motivations. Have you been seeking attention for the right reasons? Knowing the difference between fame and notoriety is important now. Keep hot-headed instincts in check. Once Mars slips into emo Cancer on January 6th, it could be hard to tear yourself out of your hibernation station. Cozy up, but try not to isolate. With this rabble-rousing energy focused on home and family, you may need to sort out some post-holiday feelings and set firmer boundaries with your inner circle. Next, Jupiter begins the year in Gemini. Curiosity is peaking with a Q and peaking, P-E-A-K-ing this year as boundless Jupiter continues its year-long trek through inquisitive, variety-loving Gemini. This cycle, which began on May 25th, 2024 and lasts until June 9th, 2025, powers up platonic partnerships and peer relationships with excitable, expansive energy. Mingle and network, but take your time with formalizing agreements until Jupiter turns direct on February 4th. New developments in education, transportation, and media can surge in the first half of 2025. But since Jupiter is in a tough detriment position here, opposite its home sign of Sagittarius, it might take a while to get these innovations in motion. Cue the electric vehicle market. Lead with intellectual curiosity while the cycle lasts through June 9th. Consider multiple perspectives rather than rushing to conclusions. With Jupiter's big talking tendencies and Gemini's double talking ones, fact checking will be essential, especially in the age of AI and deep fakes. Mercury turns retrograde 3 times. Mark your calendar for these celestial speed bumps. Messenger Mercury spins retrograde 3 times this year, a signal scrambling cycle which can skew information, screw with schedules, and bring people back from the past. The first retrograde from March 15th to April 7th straddles combative Aries and compassionate Pisces, pushing us to slow down and rethink impulsive choices while diving into our emotional depths. Beware a tendency to slip into denial or romanticize. Rose-colored glasses are not the accessory to rock this spring. Round 2, from July 18th to August 11th, crackles in fiery Leo, creating drama and creativity, leadership, and dating. Deploy those ego checks. The final retrograde, November 9th to 29th, kicks off in Sagittarius before shifting into intense Scorpio on November 18th, revealing hidden truths. Retrogrades call for reflection, course correction, and lots of patience. Use these forced timeouts to focus on reactivities, revisiting, revising, reuniting, reviewing, and rethinking. One eclipse series ends, Aries Libra, and another keeps rolling along, Virgo Pisces. The eclipses, which move in the same cadence as the lunar nodes, will also say goodbye to Aries and Libra this year and shift into Virgo and Pisces. March 29th marks the final Aries solar new moon eclipse, bringing profound personal epiphanies. Where have you been trudging forward on an independent path since April 2023? And what changes need to be implemented in certain partnerships? This eclipse invites you to wrap it up with a bow and a bang. 2 weeks later, the first Virgo eclipse since 2016 arrives with the March 14th full moon, a total lunar eclipse. Take inventory of your health and habits. How can you hack your routines to make life flow more seamlessly? The fall eclipse season starts with the September 7th total lunar eclipse in Pisces, throwing life into a surreal 2-week crucible. Every belief and boundary may be up for examination until the sensible solar eclipse in Virgo brings back certainty with the September 21st new moon, which is also the second in a rare back-to-back pair of Virgo new moons this year. The first one's on August 23rd. With this eclipse series waging on until February 2027, balancing fantasy with reality will be a delicate dance. Venus turns retrograde this spring. Venus turns retrograde this spring. Starting March 1st, you'll need to get real about your love goals or your overall relationship patterns. Ardent Venus flips into a 6-week retrograde, which could create a temporary power outage for all things romantic. This cycle actually happens every 18 months as Venus shifts from being an evening star, visible in the sky at dusk, to a morning star, rising just before dawn. Metaphorically, we have a chance to put old love stories to bed and rewrite a fresh chapter. During this tense period, compassion and compromise may go AWOL. To make matters more complicated, 2025's Venus retrograde in self-centered Aries from March 1st to 27th and gullible Pisces from March 27th to April 12th could mean that your prince or princess may revert into a wretched frog right before your eyes. Don't slip into denial. This is a time to take an unblinking look at reality while also reviewing your past patterns. If you're planning a wedding between March 1st and April 12th while Venus is retrograde, we recommend doing a city hall ceremony beforehand or waiting to sign the marriage license until after April 12th. Another option, renew your vows on your 1-year anniversary because Venus won't be retrograde then, since it only turns retrograde every 18 months. Jupiter in Cancer takes home on the road. On June 9th, Jupiter heads into cozy Cancer for the first time since 2013 to 14. Talk about a planetary paradox. Worldly nomadic Jupiter drops anchor in home-loving Cancer for a year this June 9th. And if that's not weird enough, Jupiter is actually exalted in Cancer, meaning that the crab's castle is its most potent place in the zodiac. After spending a year in detriment in Gemini, this transit is quite a code switch for the red-spotted Titan. Between now and July 30th, 2026, the buzzy energy subsides and our capacity for intimacy and emotional intelligence expands. Jupiter and Cancer cycles can bring developments in social protection and care for children and families. Housing, food security, and domestic stability can also become key issues to resolve, especially as climate change impacts geographically livable zones. Who are the people in your innermost circle? Whether you're blood-related or chosen family, Jupiter in Cancer can bring a joyful sense of connection. And since this globe-trotting planet rules travel, the second half of 2025 could be an optimal time to visit your ancestral homeland and connect to your roots. Saturn swings between Pisces and Aries. Among the planets having a divine pendulum swing in 2025 is stoic, structured Saturn, who divides the year between spiritual Pisces and aggressive Aries. The ringed taskmaster first parked in Pisces on March 7th, 2023. Ever since, it's been challenging us to organize the most chaotic, unscripted parts of our lives, like mental health, spiritual beliefs, and artistic expression. While Saturn is a boundary hound, Pisces is a boundary dissolver. Talk about a head trip. Literally, the cycle has dovetailed with developments in psychedelic legalization as treatments for everything from depression to creative blocks. This push-pull continues until May 24th, when Saturn darts forward into Aries until September 1st. The energy shifts dramatically then as we flip from introspection to daring initiative. Personal responsibility, rather than Piscean victimhood, becomes the new flex as Saturn in Aries pushes us to take ownership for our actions and evolve accordingly. We haven't experienced this cycle for nearly 3 decades because the ring planet's last visit to the Ram's realm was from April 1996 to October 1998. While Saturn in Aries encourages bold action and self-reliance, it also warns against impulsive risks. As it serves lessons in conflict management, it reveals the detrimental impact of warmongering, gun violence, and use of weapons of mass destruction. Got some original ideas brewing? You're invited to architect a new self-directed path as you lay the groundwork for personal and societal reinvention, but advance slowly with new initiatives under cautious Saturn's watch. This surge of novel, enterprising energy kicks up again when Saturn settles into Aries from February 13th, 2026 to April 12th, 2028. Uranus does a pendulum pivot between tactile Taurus and intellectual Gemini. Also on the celestial swing set in 2025 is innovative sci-fi Uranus, who does a back and forth between tenacious Taurus and gregarious Gemini. From July 7th to November 7th, the planet of progress will briefly dip into Gemini, cracking the seal on a new set of possibilities. In the first half of 2025, however, Uranus is busy finishing its 7-year tour through earthy, sensible Taurus, where it's been revolutionizing finance, agriculture, and labor since May 2018. Uranus in Taurus has transformed our material lives, producing a near cashless society. Venmo me, along with fluctuating interest rates and cryptocurrency's slow but real adoption. In Gemini, the techie planet's focus shifts to intellectual and interpersonal matters. Historically, Uranus in Gemini has brought metamorphic breakthroughs in communication technologies like the rise of the telegraph and commercial television during its last tour through Gemini from 1941 to 49. And the telescope, too. Uranus was discovered by William and Caroline Herschel when it was transiting through Gemini in 1781. Get ready for rapid developments and total disruptions to Gemini-ruled industries, telecommunications, data security, transportation, education, and the media. In a flash, Uranus can break us free from outdated systems and incite us to embrace futuristic replacements. Keep up if you can, because everything from the cars we drive or fly to the way we educate our children is up for grabs. Flexible, hybrid, and fractional roles may become the new normal for employees. It's worth noting that past Uranus and Gemini transits have dovetailed with many wars: the War of Independence, the Civil War, World War II, the Arab-Israeli War, and the Indo-Pakistani War, to name a few. As we enter 2025, battles are raging across many continents, indicating that these trends sadly may continue well into the second half of the decade. Neptune steps into Aries for the first time since 1862 to 75. Here's one for the history books. On March 30th, numinous Neptune leaves its home sign of dreamy Pisces for the first time since April 2011 and makes a landmark, in our lifetime, trek into action-oriented Aries. For the past 14 years, Neptune has been on a mindfulness pilgrimage and a deep dive through the human psyche. We have the yoga studios, trauma-informed programs, plant medicine ceremonies, and worldwide embrace of the woo to show for it. As Neptune surfs into Aries from March 30th to October 22nd, the shift may feel jarring. Neptune is compassionate, dreamy, fluid, and soft. Aries, on the other hand, is aggressive, daring, entitled, and strong. What happens when the twain meet? We need to look all the way back to 1862 to 75 for clues. Historically, Neptune in Aries has coincided with periods of radical spiritual and ideological change. We saw this in the 1860s when causes like abolitionism drove the American Civil War. Visionary advances have also exploded, like the first printing press and camera obscura in 1544, or the opening of the New York Stock Exchange in 1865, and the first tube, London's Tower subway, in 1872. Autocrat alert. There may be a rise in cult-like leaders during Neptune and Aries. Martyr movements motivated by lofty ideals could draw zealots who are willing to fight to the death. On a personal level, the cycle provides a courage to build your dream. Watch out for a veiled thirst for power, though, as you ascend along your path. Although Neptune swings back into Pisces on October 22nd, you'll want to take notes because this is a preview of a longer 13-year Neptune and Aries cycle that begins again from January 26th, 2026 to March 23rd, 2039. Pluto spends its first full year in Aquarius. The age of Aquarius is officially on. Alchemical Pluto, the planet of transformation, power, and rebirth, continues the unbroken leg of its journey through Aquarius, which began on November 19th, 2024. Pluto first rolled into Aquarius for a brief spell on March 23rd of 2023. The entire transit lasts until January 19th, 2044. This radical transit, which last occurred from 1778 to 98 during the end of the American Revolution, and for the whole of the French and Haitian revolutions, signals profound societal shifts. How do we approach power, wealth, and community, especially in this time of space travel, AI, quantum technology, and deep fakes? In Aquarius, Pluto burns down our limited ways of thinking. With a push toward collective empowerment, old systems that serve only a few rather than many could break down. Over the next 19 years, power to the people could look like radical transformations in all the collective structures that democratic Aquarius rules. It's no secret that climate change has become a crisis, and with Pluto in sci-fi Aquarius, there may be groundbreaking developments that reverse the damage as well as move towards new sources of energy, including nuclear. But will it happen fast enough? And will the entrenched monarchies and oligarchies, governed by Aquarius's opposite sign of Leo, release their stranglehold on the world? We have nearly 2 decades to find out. Get ready for intense clashes along the way, though, over everything from airspace to human rights to the ethical use of technology. Black Moon Lilith brings her intense wake-up calls to 3 zodiac signs. Shadow Dancer Lilith, a point in the sky associated with the female journey through scorn, rage, empowerment, and sexual liberation, is moving through 3 zodiac signs in 2025. Until March 27th, Lilith tours justice-oriented Libra, challenging us to redefine power within partnerships and to fight oppressive laws. Since the cycle began on June 29th, 2024, women's rights became a key issue in the U.S. presidential election. On March 27th, 2025, Lilith plunges into sultry Scorpio, taking us deeper into the heart of emotional truth and taboo topics. Scorpio's intensity stirs raw conversations about sexuality, control, and power, bringing hidden issues to light, especially in areas like reproductive rights and emotional intimacy. The year wraps with Lilith blazing into truth-seeking Sagittarius on December 20th, sparking a desire for freedom, exploration, and unfiltered authenticity. Repressive religious regimes, especially those that restrict women's fundamental rights, could be met with a fiery global resistance as we move into 2026. The year of the wood snake begins on January 29th. The Lunar New Year on January 29th ushers in the year of the wood snake, a time for slow, steady growth and transformation. Like the serpent shedding its skin, we're called to release what no longer serves us, making space for evolution. And like the Western sign of Taurus, which the snake is associated with, this year favors strategy, patience, and precision, encouraging us to plan carefully and strike only when the timing is ideal. While the pace may feel subdued, if you play the long game, you can build something solid. With the wood element promoting growth, thoughtful movements lead to lasting change. Trust the process and let the snake's strategic wisdom guide you. This is actually the first year of the wood snake since 1965. That year was marked by intensified warfare in Vietnam and civil rights action, such as MLK's 4-day march from Selma to Montgomery. 2025 is a 9 universal year. Get ready for a sacred year of closure and completion. In numerology, 2025 is a 9 universal year, because 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 5 equals 9. Rounding out the full cycle before we reset with a 1 universal year in 2026. Globally, we're tasked with letting go of outdated systems and beliefs that no longer serve the collective good. This year will push us to shift from ego-driven actions to a more compassionate humanitarian approach. The energy of the 9 is a lot like Pisces, the final zodiac sign, encouraging surrender, spiritual growth, and embracing flow instead of forcing progress. This is a time for healing, forgiveness, and creating space for new beginnings as we lead with our hearts and contribute to building a more connected, compassionate world. I hope you enjoyed that reading from the 2025 Horoscope Guide, authored by yours truly and my fellow Astro Twin, Ophi. And thank you so much again to everyone who purchased a copy of the book or the Zodiac Planner. Again, if you want to grab your copy as digital or paperback, head over to astrostyle.com/2025-book. The link is in the show notes, and use the code HOLIDAY10 at checkout to save 10% on your order. We have all sorts of bundles and great deals in there. And what I think is so interesting about the way the lunar calendar, numerology, and astrology are all lining up this year is that there's a sense that we're really closing out some old ways of doing things, not just because it's a 9 universal year, but also the North Node being in Pisces, the very last sign, which is about transition and release and letting go and healing. And then we have the 3 planets, Saturn and Neptune and Uranus, swinging into these new signs, giving us a little sneak peek of 2026, but also reminding us that letting go is a process, that we don't have to let go of everything all at once and make a radical shift. We have Saturn, which is slowing down the process of change in Aries, and Neptune, which is making the new feel a little bit, hazy and woo. 2026 is a year when I think we have a one universal year. All of those swinging outer planets are going to settle down in these new signs for longer periods. So that's when things are going to feel like a bigger change in the way we live our lives and move through the world. But I do think we're getting a chance to warm up this year. And the truth is, resisting change is futile. AI is here, technology is here, but resisting our humanity and our core connection to the planet, to the network of energy that connects us all, is also futile. So we're kind of walking between two worlds in 2025 and being asked to embrace the paradox. Being a human being is a paradoxical experience because we have this very short time on the planet, and every day we're avoiding dealing with the only inevitable, which is that one day we too will transition. But if we think about that, then what's the point of living? So we have to focus on life. We have to focus on the present and find joy in the gift of being here. And 2025 really is a rich year for exploring spirituality, creativity, the meaning of life, philosophies, as well as those heart-centered, cozy connections, all while detaching from them and connecting to the intellect as well as technology and how do we keep up? Where do we fit into this new ecosystem that's coming, like it or not? Well, we'll be hanging out with you all year long with daily, weekly, monthly horoscopes, our weekly podcast. Make sure, if you're not following us already, we would really appreciate it if you officially just hit that little follow button. And if you love listening, write us a 5-star review. It helps get the podcast out there and encourage support for it. Thank you again so much. Wishing you a happy new year. And remember, use the code HOLIDAY10 at checkout to save 10% on our variety of 2025 horoscope books and zodiac planners. See you in the new year, everyone. As always, thanks for listening. You can discover more of your star power at astrocell.com and be sure to follow us on social at AstroTwins. Join us next time for more cosmic fun.